Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Fervently Creations Marketplace Ministry. This is where I love to tell people that they are one of the best representation of God, right? The way I tell people that is to remind them that they are part of they're part of the gospel. It's five gospels. It's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and you. And sometimes the only one that they pay attention to is you. So when they are in your presence, when they are sitting down, how are you helping them? How are you tending to them, right? Because we have to realize that not everyone is called to a pulpit. And some of us are called in areas to where God wants to use us within the marketplace. And in the marketplace, sometimes our manual is not the Bible. Sometimes it's other things, but you have to know how to be the word. You have to know how to be love. It says God is love. So my question is, once they see you on aisle 14, how did you make them feel? When they came in your office and sat down in your seat, how did they feel after they left? When they came and sat in your barber chair, how did they feel once they came to purchase a car for from you? Purchase something from you. How did they feel? Did they leave there feeling like you got over on them? Did they leave there feeling like you didn't hear them? You didn't understand, right? We have to realize that not everyone is running to sit on the pews inside of a church. Some of them are running to sit in spaces that you are privileged to and that your gifts have made room for, right? So in that case, my question is, what did you do once you encountered them? Did they encounter God through you? Ooh, that's good. When they encountered you, did they see God through you? Did they meet God? Was it a God encounter? Right? That's just something I want to leave you with as we continue to go on with this show. But speaking of ways of encountering God through people, I want to let you know some places, some information that I have, and other ways in which you can actually have a encounter. I'm gonna call them encounter, but just to get around like-minded people, right? So again, like I said, God speaks to us through various ways as well. And so one of the ways that God uses me is through writings, but he used several people through the acts of writing. And so I want to tell you about a anthology that I am a co-author in with a lot of amazing other authors. It is called Women of Worth, Men of Valor. The visionary is Dr. Jacqueline Hadnot. Dr. Jackie Hadnot, the pusher. Dr. Pusher, right? I am honored to be one of the co-authors of this powerful anthology. When you purchase, you're not just buying a book, you're investing in collective voices rising together. All right. Also, next, I will be in London July 18th with Dr. Kishma George. It is some amazing people on this lineup. Make sure you come in for an encounter as well. That is going to be amazing. Never been to London before. So, hey, if you're in the UK area or if you're able to travel, come meet us there. This conference is free, but it's going to be transformational. So make sure you are in the place. Now, another thing that I got going on, listen, there's a lot of false information out here in the world. I mean, once we look at the Bible, we have to understand that the Bible speaks to us mind, body, soul, and spirit. We're not just spirit, so it speaks to all of that. And what I am doing is encouraging people to help write with me. Encouraging people to write with me so we can actually spread sound doctrine. So it's called Rightly Dividing, a call back to sound doctrine. And basically, I'm just asking, and this is free 99, but basically I'm asking you to help me get out information. Help me to spread truth. And you may say, well, Dr. Tish, that sounds good, but hey, I don't have a doctorate in biblical studies like you do. I don't know the stuff like that like you do. That's fine. We will teach you. We will walk you through it. If you're saying, hey, this is what I want to talk about, we will sit there and take time and help coach you along to say, okay, hey, or you might say, hey, there's a passage of the Bible that I just really don't understand and I want to understand. We will take the time to show you how to understand it yourself. We won't tell you how to understand it, but we would teach you how to dissect it so the Spirit of God can speak to you and give you what it is that you need. We're not trying to make people think like we are. We're trying to show you how to think through the scripture for yourself. And so I am looking for as many people that is willing to write. The author call ends March 15th. And so I really, 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 really believe in this project. However, this project is also part of a greater project as well. Together we create for kids, right? This is 6 authors, 1 mission. We got 6 different stops, and it's several ways in which you can support us. We do need support. We need support. Monetary support as well, right? So the way you can do that, I'm gonna put this website up here for y'all real quick. You can go over to togetherwecreateforkids.square.site, and in there you're able to look at the different speakers. We have our bios in there as well, but you're also able to purchase sponsor package or support packages, right? And with that, even though you're giving a monetary donation, we do give you some things for doing that, for it's like t-shirts and other little things. But hey, if you want to support, please support this mission. Like, once I tell you the heart and the vision behind this is amazing. However, because of the systems in the world that we live in, money is a factor. And so we need people to come in and help us support, right? All right. So as I was saying, it was part of a bigger environment, a bigger thing. And so this right here, we have one of our stops, which I will be in, which is in Winston-Salem in North Carolina. So in North Carolina, we're going to be with Amber Miller, who is the visionary of Rise Together Summit, a step into purpose and power. And so dynamic speakers as well. We had Dr. Rose Hall on this show. We also got Amber Miller coming up as well soon. But also in Huntsville, Alabama, we're going to do the Rightly Dividing, a callback to sound doctrine conference as well. And that is where we're restoring biblical truth. So in there, that's once we will also do the book launch. That's once we'll launch the Rightly Dividing book as well. Have some dynamic speakers, to include my mom as one of them. That's Rev, I call her Rev Mommy, but that's Reverend Rose Maryland, right? Then also we'll be in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin in September. And that's with Dr. Lanice. And so we got Tyler Forever. We got Delatria Sam. Miss Sam, look, I had an opportunity to interview her as well, and I'm messing up her name, but several others as well on there. And then we also have, in August 8th, we will be in West Palm Beach, Florida. At that time, we will be giving those that are some of our speakers that are part of this tour, they will be receiving their honorary doctorate. So shout out to Ambassador Dr. Vanessa Williams for allowing that to happen as well. I will be one of the speakers there as well for those that are part of that one. And then also our very first stop is actually June 6th, June 7th. It's going to be in Tampa, Florida. This is with Mo Nelson as well. And so we'll have some information there as well. So I should be there. Listen, the only place that I cannot make it is this one, because I'll be out of town, be headed to London around that same time. But listen, Dr. Dawn Minch in California, she will be hosting the Kingdom of Learning, opening up to new possibilities. And listen, our phenomenal guest, Lisa, she is going to be one of the speakers there as well. Y'all are going to get a chance to meet this phenomenal, amazing woman here shortly. And then we got Phil and a couple other people as well on there. And then also, listen, there's other ways to support. Maybe you want to just purchase a t-shirt or whatever, or if you want to be a vendor, there's so many different ways. So I'm gonna put this website up here one more time: togetherwecreateforkids.square.site // Make sure you go out, check it out, check it out, check it out. All right. Now, I see me. Without further ado, right? Let's go ahead and bring up our amazing guest, Lisa. Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I'm great. Okay. Now, on this show, we like to first talk about the word a little bit first, right? This camera. Y'all, I'm gonna change this camera out eventually. I promise you I will. But let's talk about the word a little bit. And this word is going to lead us into you and everything that's on the wall behind you, right? So,
yeah.
So it's gonna lead us to you and the wall, right? So it says Proverbs 18:16, it says, a man's gift makes room for him and bringeth him before great men. Well, we are two women that I can say that this applies for the women as well, right? Our gifts make room for us and bring him before great men. I remember seeing some years ago a post that said, hey, those kids that used to get in trouble for talking in class so much, like, what do y'all do now? I was like, talk?
Yes.
I talk without getting in trouble.
Exactly. Those little behaviors when you were younger, and now they kind of define you. And it's funny because I was always a bookworm and now I'm a writer.
See? Yeah, and honestly, and I was one that just loved to like write notes and stuff, because in that I'm 80s baby, so we was constantly passing notes. We didn't have cell phones. We weren't texting people in class. We were sitting there folding up notes and stuff and passing it and slipping like, hey, pass this note.
I remember doing that too. Yeah.
And so, but you know what? In writing the notes, that wasn't a quick short text message, and it wasn't the quick short social media post. Like, we used to write some very long notes, right? In that though, you get to kind of study and kind of see people's mindset. The more you kind of let them talk and listen to them or whatever. And so during that time, I would say more people were forced to listen, but also to process, right? And so it was a thing. And I know that this Bible verse is probably talking about it in a whole different way, but I'm fixing to go this way because this is the way it came up to me. So it forced us to process our thoughts. And a lot of time we go through stuff, but we do not take time to process. We don't take time to sit with self. And one of my biggest healings, ways of healings, have always been through writing, through being able to sit and just write. And it just clicked to me, like, that's the reason why I got thrown off just then. Because once I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, that's the reason why I heal through writing. Because my childhood friends were my best friends, but those were the ones that sat and I would write long to about, this is what's going on. And they would come back and this is what's going on, And so I feel like that was one of those gifts that I had, or one of those things that I was doing that has made room for my own healing, for my healing journeys, for my healing growth. Because knowing how to sit with yourself, that's the reason why a lot of people didn't survive COVID, because they didn't know how to sit with themselves. They didn't know how to, not only did they not know how to sit with themselves, they didn't know how to process what they were going through. What do you got to say to that?
I 100% agree. I mean, I used to write letters, written letters to and from with my cousin in Florida. And, we've got all this access to technology, and we have all this quick access. And that's really what it's about. You want to send a quick note to somebody, you don't have the time to sit down and physically write it and process and think about it. And it's funny because in class last week, one of my students asked me, because we were talking about ethics, and he goes, how do you handle tough situations and working with people? And one of the things I said to him was writing. One of the best things I ever did was start writing again. And yeah, I write children's books. You can see the awards behind me. But I started writing chapters and anthology books that discuss my career and kind of the intersection of writing and psychology. And I had some family stuff come up last June, and writing for those books was super therapeutic. It helped tremendously. And even recently, a couple of months ago, I was writing a chapter for another book that comes out in a couple of months, and it helped tremendously too, because I had another family emergency going on. So for me, writing is really easy, and it's something that's very enjoyable, and it really is like therapy, and when I was growing up, I was a bookworm. I had my nose stuck in a book all the time, and I was constantly writing short stories, so it's something that just comes natural to me. And now I'm realizing how much I really need that in my life, and the ability to kind of write about things that have happened in my career, in my life, how I feel. It really helps a lot with processing and kind of like moving forward.
That once I first got into anthologies, the first few anthologies that I did all had to do with mind. It was Trapped Behind Enemy Lines in my mind, Prisoner of War in my mind, The Renewed Mind in Christ. Like those were, and so I was about to do one more called Trigger Warning, and then that's once I shifted. And so I pulled that one off because I was just like, well, for one, Trigger Warning was a little bit different. Once I was saying doing the trap, the In My Mind type of series, a lot of people love those because it turned for them as a place to release and place to vent or whatever. But a lot of times I had noticed that those chapters kind of led to people not taking self accountability either for their mindset. And so once it came to the one that I was going to do called Trigger Warning, it was a thing of saying like, hey, your triggers are your triggers. Like your triggers is your responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that I didn't get many to to sign up on that one. And I'm like, why is this so hard to push? Like I've never had a hard time pushing an anthology. And then that one, it did not land. And I think that's one of those ones that I'm probably it wasn't supposed to be an anthology. That was supposed to be one of my that I was supposed to do for myself, because I had to learn my own triggers. I had to learn how to understand what was the things that caused me hurt, that caused me to go into the cycles of depression, what caused me to have the anxiety. And so through that process and through the writing is how I came off a lot of my mental health medications, through that and through meditation. And so meditation became my medication. And so
Exactly.
so it's just like it's a thing to where you have to understand how God used you and where God wants to use you at. And the truth be told, as you were saying, like as a kid, you was always in the book. And so where that truth comes in for us is that it is a thing to where God was cultivating us the whole time to be who we are today. Who we
I
are today.
100% agree with that, and that's like you said, through writing, I realized so much and about how my journey had to be the way it is to come to the place that I am. Because I think if I didn't do certain things, I wouldn't be where I am in my career and in my life. And I am the happiest I have ever been. And I agree with you too. I think, people don't want to face their triggers. They don't want to face those hard things. They're hard. People want to stay in that happy little bubble. They want to stay where they're safe, and they're not realizing the stress that's in their life. And I think that's where, writing really is something that's incredible and is a true gift, because we can figure out so much and we can realize so much. And, even through meditation, I love meditation. I love affirmations. But a lot of people are scared by that because they don't want to face certain things in their own lives. And to me, I think that's really sad, So I try to encourage my students to do things, use the techniques on themselves and kind of make the assignments where they're applied so they're actually using this stuff and using it on themselves. And then they can go out in the real world, be healthier people and help others be healthier too. But, people don't want to face it. People don't want to, see the negative. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sometimes it helps, like if you unmute your mic to be able to talk.
I've done that. I've done it too. Don't worry. I realized the mic was off, but yeah,
people can hear you if you unmute the mic.
We all do it.
So in case anybody's out there, we just want to let you know that when you're talking to people, unmute the mic. Yeah. Okay, so my question is, you started off in psychology. You're probably like, she needs a psychologist. You started off in psychology, right? Yeah. What was your passion behind that?
I realized that I like observing people. I like figuring out how they think and why they do what they do. So I kind of fell into applied behavior analysis. I took my first psych courses in my senior year of high school and I loved it. And I actually went to undergrad as a teaching major and then was thinking about switching to social work. And then I switched my major to, I think it's family and child studies. So not really a degree I could use. So I had to go get my master's. And then it was in researching master's degrees that I realized like, oh, I like ABA. And then kind of through ABA and through growth and through learning and through writing, I realized, I really can't stay an assistant. I never passed the BCBA exam, which was the best thing that could have happened, even though I didn't realize it at the time. It was the first catalyst that pushed me in the direction that I'm going in now. So having that background, that foundation in applied behavior analysis, it's really set everything up for my career with writing, my career in school psychology, where I'm switching to right now. I'm grateful the experiences that I've had in ABA. It's been very, very tough. But it really set a really good foundation, and I love psychology. I love being able to teach as a professor and kind of impart that onto kids. And I love the fact that I can still use those skills in school psychology. I can still work with kids, teens, or adults and, really figure out what's making them tick by doing different things and getting more of that freedom in school psychology that isn't really there in ABA, or at least not there in the way I would need it as a professional and a leader to be able to thrive and grow. But psychology is amazing, and I really kind of just fell into it.
So break down ABI for us a little bit.
So ABA is applied behavior analysis. And what it does is it works with individuals primarily with autism. So I get asked all the time, are you analyzing me right now? And I promise I'm not. I do my students. I do it inadvertently with my students, I will say that. But I do warn them on the first day. I notice more than they think I do. And then I shock them and I tell them. But, applied behavior analysis, you are analyzing kids with autism through observation, through interactions. We do assessments. There's no one set assessment. So you're kind of left up to choose the one you want to do. And then we write up behavior plans to help the child, teen, or adult decrease behaviors that are impacting their daily living skills and keeping them from reaching their potential. And then we put in strategies that encourage them to engage in positive behaviors to actually be able to reach their potential.
So what is I promise you're sitting here talking and I'm like, I get a chance to talk to a real life Reed. Not like that. It's the fact you knew exactly who I was talking about once I said it, didn't I? You knew exactly who I was talking about.
Yeah, that was funny. Oh my gosh.
So my question to you is hold on, let's go first to autism, right? What is the biggest misconception about their learning ability and their behaviors?
Oh, it's absolutely that they can't learn. So autism to me is just a different way to learn. It's a different way the brain is formed and processes things. And people think that, oh my gosh, they're going to get the diagnosis. They can't have any kind of life. Not true whatsoever. That's literally what inspired my books and kind of a theme through about half my books, 2 of my series. It's if you understand it as just a different way to learn, you look at autism differently. You look at the individual differently. The way this world is set up, it's set up for neurotypical kids. It's not set up for individuals with autism. So, we've got all these negative things going around. So parents freak out, not realizing that just because their kid can't talk verbally doesn't mean they can't talk, period. There's all kinds of other ways to communicate. We don't have to communicate with our mouths. There's picture exchange communication systems, which are called PECs for short, and you use an iPad. You can carry around. They call it a talker in my district that I work in as an intern right now. They call it a talker, and it literally, you train the individual to press different kind of apps and it makes a sentence for them. They don't need a mouth to talk. And even if they are using a talker, it doesn't mean they can't drive, that they can't hold a job, that they can't, write a book, or, go to the beach or go to the aquarium, like you see in my books, that they can't have friends, So my biggest thing with that is that, I tell parents and families, your child is only limited by you. Treat them the same as any other child. If they fail at soccer, okay, put them in something else. See what else they like to do. It's the same thing with their neurotypical kids. Neurotypical kids might not like soccer. They might not be talented in soccer. Maybe they're talented at swimming. I've met a lot of individuals with autism that are amazing artists. That's why half my books are illustrated by individuals with autism. A lot of times individuals with autism have this one talent that is so incredible and so much better than anybody else's. But how do we find that? We try everything for them the same way we do with neurotypical kids. So I always tell people it's just a different way to learn, and we just have to figure out how they learn.
So I have a cousin that is she's a savant.
Oh, see, yeah, exactly. So she's a genius with autism. I have a student just like that in my district. I tested him. He's 9 years old, and he goes, "Can you make it harder?" And the test goes up to age 16. I'm looking at him like, what did you, I looked at my supervisors and almost started hysterically laughing. I was like, I have to keep composure so we can keep testing. He's 9 years old. And he said this to me. I was just like, what just happened?
That's my son. My son was 3. No, he was 4. And typically, he's kind of good kid or whatever, but we would find out that once he went to school, he would throw temper tantrums. So we asked one day, and we was just like, well, why, like, you don't do it at home? Why are you doing it at school? He says, because I'm tired of writing my name. I've been writing my name since I was 3 years old. And nobody else knew how to write their name. So he was, I guess, the perks of having an older sister that thought that she wanted to be a teacher at the time. So, he knew how to write his name, and they was just now learning how to write, letters and stuff. And he was just bored. He was bored. And so one of the teachers had to learn that if you want to keep him quiet in class, you're going to have to give him something to do. So what they did was they gave him a book. And so while she was grading her papers, he would be reading to the class because he was able to read. But even in high school, it was one time the teacher was sick and they sent us a picture. He was teaching the class. In high school.
Like just my 2 little cousins. Well, they're not that little, but they're just like that. Like the 9-year-old that does things like that too, and they're both gifted. And that's what it is. If they can do it with a neurotypical kid, why can't they do it with an autistic kid?
So I think it kind of goes back to the thing is like, it's not necessarily something wrong with them. It's that you don't know how to teach at their level that they can understand. And I believe that's a lot with a lot of different type of mental health diseases or other things. It's just like once you understand it and get an understanding of what it is and how the brain operates, understanding the amygdala and understanding, all the things that's going on, in the brain or whatever, and knowing how it functions. Like, okay, hold on. They know how they can operate, but it's certain things, again, triggers, because sometimes we have to realize at this point, they haven't learned necessarily their triggers, but studies have showed that if this kid is diagnosed with this, then you can't have a whole bunch of flashing lights and stuff. Come on, man. You can't have them. Keep my hands down. You can't have a bunch of flashing lights and stuff going on. Like with me, you can't sit me in the back of a classroom because you can't see me in a back of an event still to this day because I am easily distracted. I'm going to, what do they call it? Adult ADHD. I'm going to be looking like, hold on. What they're doing, like any little movement is going to catch my attention and I won't hear whoever. So I have to sit as closest to the front to minimize distraction. And so it's things to where I learned that in my adulthood. No one taught me that in my childhood. And so it's a thing to where knowing the kids, understanding that everybody don't learn the same way. Everybody's mind sets is not the same way. And just because someone's mind is different than yours, it doesn't mean that something's wrong with them. Exactly. It's just that they're learning how to function in the systems that the world have set in place.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so I see why a lot of people are kind of going into homeschooling and stuff too, because just like, hold on, let me take my kid out and teach them at a level that I know that they can learn it. Because some of them, I had a cousin that was during the time that I was having issues with my son. I called one of my cousins who I know used to be like not used to be. She was very smart or whatever, but she ended up getting into a lot of trouble. And stuff, and then end up dropping out of school. But she was always known to be real smart. And so I said, hey, cuz, I said, what happened? I said, what was going on with you during that time? Like, what happened? She said, I was bored.
Exactly. That's a lot of it. I'm going into school psychology. I'm working in a school system now. And I'm lucky the school system's awesome, but I worked in a different school system before for a year and I'm watching these kids and I'm like, how can you ask a kindergartner to sit for 45 minutes? And then you're coming over and be like, oh, it's ADD, ADHD. No, it's not. It's the fact that the system is not working for this kid. Like these poor teachers are trained to do one thing and they have all this pressure on them. And there's some phenomenal ones out there, but the ones that really conform to everything that they're being told to do, I feel bad because they shouldn't feel that pressure to be that way. They should be able to teach individually or at least take one or two kids and teach more individual to them. It's why I teach the way I do. I try to hit as many kind of learning styles as possible, and we're able to do that at the college level, but it's really unfortunate that they can't do it at any other level.
Yeah, because I know like in some of the other levels or so you have the things to where you have at the younger levels where they'll probably allow the kids to stand by the desk. They may sit up under the desk. But they realize like, hey, this person can't sit still, and trying to make them sit still is going. So as long as they can stand by their desk and write or color, they're fine. It's the sitting that they have the issue with. They don't want to sit in the seat. They want to sit up under the desk. Like, and it's not a thing. It's just like, hey, let them do what's kind of comfortable to them. And that doesn't mean that, hey, and I understand order, but okay. So dealing with the college kids, what is the difference there between like in the dynamics there, like once they get to that level?
So it's really interesting because I've been teaching community college since 22 and I started teaching in-person undergrad last year, and I see similarities between that and the undergrad that I teach online, and there's definitely a maturity level difference between community college and undergrad. But it's one of the biggest things that I love so much about teaching is I have freedom. I don't have somebody hanging over me being like, you have to do your lesson plan this way. The only thing they tell me is you have to teach these topics every week. With Union, I teach to the book. With Kane, I get the topics in the syllabus already, so I just plan everything out that way. And I have amazing assistant deans that I've been working with at both colleges. And, I do talk to them, but I don't have to see them weekly. I don't have to see them daily. I don't have them hovering over me. We get observed once a semester. It's nothing crazy, but I can really make it my own style. And one of the other things that I love the most is I can tell stories. I have 12 years experience. I've changed careers. I've lost count this time. Like, I don't even know at this point. Everyone asks me how many careers I've had. I'm like, I don't know at this point. But, I've got all this experience. I've got all these stories. And I feel like that's what's necessary. That's what's needed. They're engaged. They're listening. They're asking questions. They're able to not have pressure on them. I don't force anybody to participate. Nobody raises their hand. Cool. I'll come up with something else to talk about in whatever topic we're talking about. So it's a freedom where I can really be me. I can really, put things into my lessons that I feel are important. And I think that's a really big difference. I keep in touch with a lot of my students. I've had a lot of repeat students, which is amazing, but there's a freedom and independence that I think I personally really love, just because applied behavior analysis can be very black and white. And I think that I got stifled in that. And that's why I kind of moved into school psychology too. I can actually do more in school psych as to whether I'm going to get to practice school psychology, because I've got a big project, another idea for another business. I mean, who knows what'll happen when I graduate with my doctorate in a year. I get my license. We shall see what happens. But, I'm very, very grateful to Dr. Russo for my first job as a professor. And I love the journey that I've had with it. I love teaching at Keene and Southern New Hampshire University. I teach at a number of schools right now, just to make money and gain experience. But it's an amazing experience. And I love talking to my students. The feedback I get from them, is I don't expect it. But it's really amazing kind of see them be like, I love this topic. I was so excited for this class. They write me notes online, which is really cool. I love when they write me notes when I go to grade. And I'm like, this topic was this and this and this, and it was really great. And this topic was a lot of work, but I did it. And I'm like, that's awesome. Or I've got 2 students from last semester. They get out at the same time I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And all of a sudden I just hear professor. So it's really fun to like hear them, see how they're doing and talk to them. So it's, it's really amazing being a professor. And there's so many differences between that and the career I've had before. So I love it.
You could tell that you love it. Like you just like it just you just light up. Like you just glow talking about it, right? Like someone would like literally like just not knowing what probably thought that you were talking about some guy or something or whatever, because that's how you light up. Like it truly shows that you love it.
I enjoy it so much. I am very, very lucky, and I've been through a lot in my career. So to get here, I'm really proud of myself to get to this point, but I'm also extremely grateful because it's not easy to get these positions at all.
So with that, how did this door open for you? Because like you said, you're teaching at several, like how did all this stuff open up? Like what happened?
So because I never passed the BCBA, I kind of felt lost for the first time in my life and was kind of like, I need to figure this out. Do I keep going, putting myself under the stress? Is a financial strain? Like, what do I do? So I decided to go back to school for my doctorate degree in ABA, which was never the plan. And that one I didn't finish, but I'll get to that. But it was one of the best things I could have done because it gave me a love of research and it let me know that I wanted to teach. So that's where I realized, that's what I want to do. And I still do research, love research. I teach research at SNHU, one of my favorite courses to teach. So that's really in those 3 years where I kind of opened up a lot and it really kind of pushed me to grow more, which was amazing. And then my classmates did a course at the school to train them to teach at the college level. And I took a different one later on because I withdrew from the program. The dissertation process was not for me. But I'm in a different doctorate program now, but which was also never the plan. But, I did the training and I got offered the job a couple months later, which was crazy. Same thing with Kane, like Union College of New Jersey, which is where I'm teaching on the community college. I got hired and I started the very next day. So very interesting. And it was actually the same thing with Kane University. I had applied like a year before, had stopped applying because of internship. And I randomly get an email last August from Kane saying, hey, can you interview today? Interviewed an hour later, got the job like 3 hours later, and 2 weeks started at Kane. So it's very like quick, very like go, go, go. And I've talked to other professors, same things happen to them. But it's just kind of like divine timing, kind of random, I started internship in October, and getting Kane was one of the best things that could have happened as well, because it's helped me, get through internship, which has been a lot, but financially it helps. And it also has given me that stable career piece after I finished this other doctorate program that I started, and I can teach master's and doctorate level classes there. And they have a research program I can work in as well with the students. So it's honestly just perseverance, continuing to push and try, figure out how do I get the training that I need. And honestly, just not taking no for an answer, because all the schools I work for, I got rejected from. Kane, I got rejected from, and all of a sudden I got the email last August. SNHU, I was rejected from twice. And then the third time, I got the interview. So, I tell my students a lot too, and I tell them, if I'm preaching, oh, well, deal with it. And but no is not a forever final answer, and a 0 is not forever either. I'm very flexible. If they communicate with me, they talk to me, I will work with them and help them. And that's kind of from, my experience with supervisors that were good, and also my experience with applying for jobs. I don't get upset if I get a rejection, because I'm like, okay, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't the right timing, so continuing to just push and try and apply, and just not taking that no for an answer has really been part of what's helped me get to where I am. And I think it's helped open a lot of those doors too.
I think that's great. Now, with researching, right? Research is something that, once it comes into that doctorate level or whatever, it teaches you how to look at things from both ends.
Great.
Right. And I think like we have to start looking at mental health, or I hate to call it, that's not mental health. Autism is not technically mental health, but I guess, but we have to start looking at things from two different perspectives sometimes. Like, look at it both ends, because a lot of people, they see kids that are autistic and they have this one idea or mindset of how they should act, how they're going to act or whatever. And from like the spectrum is different. Like, so can you talk to us? Yeah. Can you explain that, the spectrum piece?
Oh, absolutely. So here in the US, we call it a spectrum. In Europe, they actually call it a circle, which is really interesting. So here in the US, it's a spectrum because there's different levels. So we have high functioning autism. They got rid of the term Asperger's and pervasive developmental disorder years ago, which is kind of controversial. But we call it a spectrum because there's different levels. I was talking about how some individuals don't talk with their mouth, they talk with the pecs, but there's also individuals that are able to hold a job, have a career. I know individuals that have their master's degrees. There's talk and still debate about Sheldon from Big Bang Theory being autistic and being a savant. So there's different levels to autism, and we say the higher you are in the spectrum, the higher functioning. And when we say higher functioning, we mean that you can have a life where people don't know. And I put quotes around that because we look at autism and we look at the obvious signs, like the hand flapping, the no eye contact, the trying to hug too much, Those are obvious signs. We don't realize that individuals with autism, they don't have to have those signs. I worked with adults. Those were the first 4 years that I worked in the field. And I worked with adults that could drive, that went to school, went to college, held jobs. Even now in the district that I work in, I work partially in the high school. And from what I've seen, they have amazing programs that are work programs. And a couple of the students, one works at McDonald's, one is trying to be a CNA. And these are 21-year-olds that are a higher functioning spectrum. And I think we have to also kind of get rid of that idea of that we can tell just by looking, because that's not true, and that's why it's a spectrum. And we say lower on the spectrum, meaning that they need more help with daily living skills. Maybe they can't shower themselves. They can't cook, maybe they have more sensory needs. Sometimes individuals with autism need pressure. And that's why we have weighted backpacks, weighted blankets. We talked about the sensory type stuff and getting distracted. Some individuals have a sensitivity to light and to sound. You might see an individual with headphones on to block that out. And that's okay. And that's part of being on a spectrum and being individualized. And what we don't realize is that everybody's individualized, and we have to find a way to describe things, to have a reason for things. And that's why there's so much misinformation about autism, because we have to blame something, or we have to have a reason for something. Well, why are people neurotypical? Why do we have bullies? Why do we classify things as weird? I hate the word normal. I think we're all weird. I think we're all, have a little bit of sensory going on. I do. I don't like crowds. So you know what? I don't like going to the mall because I don't like people on top of me. I also get very distracted by everything that's going on in the mall. So when we think about it as a spectrum, I think we have to break down those walls and barriers too. And is really the great thing about research is that, but you have to do research the right way. I've seen so much misinformation in research. And that's one of my favorite things about working with my students too, is helping them understand the right places to do research. And having them be like, whoa, can't go there? Can't use that? I'm like, no, that's like using Wikipedia where anybody can put anything in there, like the Mayo Clinic, or there's a new California clinic I saw a student cited. I'm like, you're killing me with these clinics. But research is amazing because of how much you learn. But we need to encourage people to do that more because it's a lot of work and people don't want to do it. But there's a lot of information out there that's amazing, that talks about the sensory issues, that talks about mental health, that talks about the spectrum, and it's really interesting stuff. But we really need to kind of break down those barriers when it comes to understanding the spectrum and realizing that even though they are in the spectrum and they have autism, it's not a disability. I hate that word too. It's actually just who they are and the way that they are, and that's okay. And understanding where they are on the spectrum can help you understand how to interact with them. Because if you understand that, then you understand their functioning. Because lower might mean they may need extra help, or they may need more patience from you. Higher on the spectrum means they can be hired and you just have to hired for a job, and you might just have to teach them in a different way. So understanding the spectrum really helps you understand the individual as well.
So I love that going to the ones that are able to work or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you say that those are, you utilize them for your children's books, for illustrations and stuff. Like, that is so amazing. Can you talk to us a little bit about your books?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Brainstorm Productions is incredible. They are affiliated with the Center for Learning Unlimited. And the CLU was actually created to train individuals that are adults with autism in animation. They created Brainstorm Productions so that when they graduated, they would have a place to go and work. And they are incredible. I started writing my books in 2018 and finally published in 2020. And I decided to make them based on my career. So I wanted to showcase the positive side, the beautiful side, the fact that children with autism are not limited. So each one of my Let's Talk series, my Happy Thoughts series, are different activities that are near and dear to me. And they're about friendship. And they're also about different difficulties individuals with autism have. And I think it was in 2021 I started working with 22. 22 I started working with Brainstorm Productions, and they illustrated about half my books. My new book coming out in about 2 weeks. It's called Dragon Island Football Season. It's illustrated by them, and I'm super, super excited. It's incredible. It's gorgeous. The colors just pop. But what's really cool too is each book that they've done is done by a different group of individuals. So what Brainstorm decided to do, they emailed me and they were like, hey, we want to keep working with you. You know, we're going to have different cohorts. Can we use you as a way to train them to go into the field after working with us and to work as professionals? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, instead of having the head of Brainstorm email me, they appoint like a team leader, and that person emails me like different questions, different things about the illustrations, the books and stuff. So that way they're getting that kind of practice, that interaction, which I think is really cool too. I love being able to help them. And that's part of why I wanted to go to California and talk at the tour there, not just to meet Dawn Menge because I love her to death, but I'm also going to get to meet Brainstorm in person. So I'm really excited. It honestly made my day that they wanted to meet me when I come out. And I've got a really big project I'm working on that the head of Brainstorm is actually helping with, and he's going to have the students and individuals help with it as well, which is incredible. I'm super, super excited. But it's also a way to show that individuals, they can do it too. Give them a chance. You know, they came up with this really cool idea that each illustration would be a different style based on the person illustrating it. And I'm like, let's go. Why not? And it came out so cool. You know, I give them a lot of leeway with illustrations and the cover too, because what they come up with is better than I could come up with, you know? So I also love being able to be flexible like that. Give them that creative, you know, way to go on their own. Let them, you know, do their thing, do what they're good at. And it shows the world that not just pen to paper, that I can write a story from my experience that shows real life, but it shows real life in a different way. It shows that, you know, what's in my books can actually come true. You know, it shows parents and families that if you really encourage your child with autism, they can do it too, you know? And I can't say enough good things about Brainstorm. They are absolutely incredible. I'm so excited to meet them this summer. And, you know, it's just one of those things that kind of just happened out of the blue. But they said that they would do all my books that I wanted them to. And they've been doing short films, winning awards, going to film festivals. And that just shows that when you give, you know, like the saying, if you give an inch, take a mile, you don't always have to have that as a negative. That's what Brainstorm's done. They were given an inch and they've grown even beyond a mile. They've grown mountains. You know, watching them these last 4 years, I am so incredibly proud of them and what they're doing, where they're going. And it makes me feel really, really blessed and grateful to know them, but also to know that they want to do my books. Even with how busy they're getting, they're still making the time for me. That's pretty special in itself too.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. So amazing. So amazing. I wish at first I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting a chance to go to California. And I seen them dates. I was like,
I know. I was like, I get to meet you. Then I hear here you can't come. Like, that stinks.
Man. So I don't know if something happens to where I can swing both, I will. But I'm just like, that might be. And then the 12th is actually my anniversary. So I don't know if the hubby be like, wait a minute, hold on, we're fixing to go out of town next week. Like, no. So
it would be a lot, but I plan to be a part of the tour for years to come. So I'll definitely come out to other cities.
Yes, and look, I would definitely come up that way, but would love to know and understand it just a lot more. Like, again, I love knowledge. I love knowledge at all different levels, even things that I do not know. So that's probably why I was asking so many questions. I'm like, hold on. So I have this question. I'm like, hold on. What did we talk about? What we were supposed to be interviewing about? I'm not sure. Not
You can
sure.
ask anything you'd like. I don't mind at all. This has been so much fun. These have been awesome questions.
I mean, so for me, I think like the mind is just so amazing.
Okay.
And so to be able, like, did you already have a passion for children with autism, or did that just kind of fall in your lap and you're like, oh wow, I love it here?
It kind of just fell in my lap. I realized when I went to ABA that there was a little girl I worked with when I was 22 in daycares, and we found out she had autism. And she was kind of my first introduction to autism. And I ended up babysitting her. My best friend continued to work with her for some years after. Amazing kid, amazing family. And I realized I was the only one she would talk to because I was the only one that would actually take an interest in her. So I realized, that kind of set the foundation for me going into ABA. And I think that kind of is where my interest in working with kids with autism came from.
I truly believe that this is where you were supposed to be all
Thank
along, and
you.
all the other stuff was just you going through the steps, the process, getting necessary information and bringing it over into that field. I think every step that you made previously before you got here was God ordained. Like you were supposed to be exactly where you was in those programs, doing the research and then stopping and then like
Yeah.
not this. And so I believe like all the stuff was just divine. Like you were supposed to be where you were in that introduction. And so that introduction to the little girl was like, that was like, no, this is where I'm going to take you later. But she was the one that planted the seed.
I agree completely. I think everything happens for a reason. And,
Yeah.
you realize what those reasons are later, and that how the steps happened, they had to happen the way that they were for a reason. And yeah, it may have been really tough and hard at times, but it's worth it when you
Yeah.
get to that final place and you figure out the reasoning, so I 100% agree.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so we are going to get ready to get out of here. Do you have any closing words that you want to leave us with, or anything?
Just that don't limit yourself, don't limit your kids, and just remember no is not a final answer and a zero is not forever. Those are some of my favorite things to say. And, I truly believe in them.
I love that. No is not the
Yeah.
final answer, and a zero is not forever.
Yep.
Love it, love it. All right. Well, I thank you for swinging through. Eventually, I'm going to meet you in person, but
Yes.
you are welcome, welcome, welcome to come on here anytime. I would love to sit and talk with you more, and a lot of information. You definitely released a lot of information. So I thank you just for not consider it robbery to come here and share and educate and inform us as well.
And thank you so much for having me and for the amazing questions. I love talking about psychology and, the beauty that is autism. So for you to want to talk about it and take the time to have me here, I really appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, y'all, make sure that y'all go connect with her, meet her in California. Go to California, listen. And if you're in the New Jersey area, listen, make sure you reach out to her, figure out where she's speaking at. Because I'm telling you, she has a lot of things going on. Right. And so as doors are open, make sure you find you a seat in one of those rooms so you can actually sit at her feet and listen to all the phenomenal wisdom that she has. Right.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see y'all next time.